Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today I have first time on. What shall I say? Shall I say we've been tech friends forever?
Yeah, I think so. We've been tech friends for a while. Yeah.
Yes. Judy Lanfredi is my guest. And I think we have been communicating messages on Instagram for so long. And and you send me the best videos, by the way. I love it when people send me those.
I'm like, I hope I'm not like bombarding her. And she's like, not this chick again.
No, you know what? People, especially if anyone tries to contact me through Facebook, I'm on Facebook like once a month, like stuff gets posted, and people will be like, hey, can you do a gig? And I miss it because I'm not on Facebook, but Instagram, I interact a lot. And I just love you and you were just saying this before. We like the same things. We're on the, and you are an artist who has created a beautiful tarot deck that I have right in front of me right now.
Oracle card deck.
Oracle. Yes, I'm sorry. Oracle.
No, that's okay. There is a difference, but it's, you're a tarot reader, so
exactly.
I get it.
And there's actually a huge difference. It really is beautiful. And so I have a million things to ask you, and I'm going to start really quick with when I think of or tarot, I think it's very rigid, not rigid, but it has a system.
Structure.
Yes, a structure. And Oracle doesn't, which makes it more interesting to me where you got your inspiration or what's happening here. So tell me, first of all, were you always a woo-woo person? Did it just happen? How did that come about?
Yeah, I really was always in that realm, woo-woo, spiritual, whatever the term of the day is, I suppose. I feel like I just kind of came out this way. And from a very, very, very young age, it was just like, I was like meditating, like probably like a 7-year-old. And a lot of that goes back to my ancestry. I'm half Italian and half Greek. And the only grandmother I knew was my Greek grandmother. She was super, super spiritual and had a very hard life, but had faith her whole life, no matter what happened. And she had some pretty hard stuff happen. She still kept that alignment with spirit, with source, with God. And there goes that motorcycle.
I know. And I was going to say, sorry about that, but I actually
it's okay. I was waiting for it.
I can open my windows today and I'm so happy. And I forgot to say that. So I'm glad you brought it up.
No. I kind of took that as a sign. So anyway, so she really taught me a lot. Just through her actions. And when we used to go visit her, the first thing we did before we ever sat down to have a cup of tea or some cookies or whatever, she had like a room where she had an altar and she had her religious pictures and candles. And the first thing we had to do was go say a prayer.
That's brilliant.
It sure is. It leaves an impression, let me tell you.
Well, also, if you had a walkway in a house, you could line that walkway with whatever, crystals or something, so that people left their garbage outside of your house. That's great.
Yeah. So she was like the perfect example. Then my aunt, her daughter, also, she was into yoga. And when we go to her house, she'd have a bookshelf with like, I don't know if you remember that book, Chariots of the Gods. And I'm like, what is this? It was all about these, the alien stuff. And I'm like, wow. And I'm so happy because she passed away in May of 21. And that was right when the breaking news had come out about, that New York Times article there's aliens. And I'm like, thank God she lived to hear that, So it was kind of funny. So I'm kind of like, all right. And so that it just, my spiritual, interest just kept opening. I was always going to these, astrology things or lectures, and some of them my aunt had actually taken me to. And it was very broad. It was like we met the little guru from India that we met through her yoga club when I was like a teenager. Yeah. And then she had Marie, the hairdresser, who channeled Jesus, which at the time scared the bejesus out of me. But I mean, like an Italian lady who's a hairdresser who channels Jesus. It was interesting.
That's funny because I live in a place where the lady that owns it, her name is Maria, and she is a hairdresser, and she used to hold like really strict religious meetings over at the place. So that is part of that culture, though, isn't it? The Italian culture.
For sure. And like I said, I never knew my Italian side so much, but my grandparents rather, but I did have an aunt who practiced the malocchio, and whenever my mom had a headache or something, we have to do the malocchio.
What is the malocchio?
Oh, well, that's a Southern Italian, maybe more than Southern Italian, but it's certainly a Southern Italian thing where there is a bowl. I don't know how to do it. It was never passed down to me because, as the story goes, it can only be passed down from a female relative on Christmas Eve. And there's a secret prayer, of course.
It breaks the evil eye.
Yes. So there's a bowl of water, and it has something to do with putting drops of oil and the way you say the certain prayer and cut it. If the oil makes a certain situation, combination, or how it presents itself in that water, you can see if that someone put the evil eye on you. And my hand to God, it worked every time, my mom. So,
I think there's little stinky energies get sent to us all the time, whether it's people in traffic and stuff. And for Halloween, I had Renee Watt on, and she talked about, I had her on the Patreon, and she talked about putting an egg in a bowl, covering it with salt, and leave it for 2 weeks under your bed. And then then you want to get rid of it. You want to bury it somewhere you don't go, crack it open and bury it, so you're not walking by picking that energy back up. But
got it.
Sometimes the egg would come out wonky, and sometimes I just think that's a good practice, or salt under the bed. But that's amazing. Yeah, I bet that energy of that doing that to get rid of the evil eye is like so powerful. By now it gets rid of everything.
I just think, the Roman Catholic Church wouldn't approve of it, but these kinds of things that were passed down through generations. I mean, even my grandmother that had come from Greece, she was sent over here at 13 with her mother in Greece was the village medicine woman. So my sister's a therapist. She's a PhD, and she works as a school psychologist. So she's also in the healing arts, let's just say, but her road is just a little bit different. But she was sent here with that kind of information. Unfortunately, someone stole it on the boat over, but it was ingrained. My point is that I think a lot of this stuff comes down through our ancestry if we allow it and we are open to it. And some of it's probably a lot more simple than we make it out to be.
Yes. And powerful.
And certainly powerful. But intention goes a long way. So I don't think it isn't even so much the water and the oil it's probably the intention and the prayer of, let's get this yucky stuff away from this person and send it back to where it came from.
And the power of belief in that.
Absolutely.
And, and I do think it's very interesting. I was just talking to someone, and I know that you said you don't have a lot of connection with your Italian side, but that really heavy Italian, even mob Italian, is very, very, at the very least superstitious, but there's a lot of interesting stuff to it. That's
to be sure. And what's interesting though, Karen, is that I didn't know my Italian grandparents. However, so I went to art school. I went to Rhode Island School of Design, and my junior year, I was privileged to study in Rome for a year, and it was life-changing for me in a multitude of ways. The minute I got there, I was like, I felt like I was at home. And I had never left the state of Rhode Island, never mind, the country before. So when I got there, I'm like, the sound of my feet clapping on those cobblestones sounded familiar. Places looked familiar. And this years and years later now also is very much ingrained in how this oracle card deck, Wisdom of the Sacred Oracle, came to be, because I was pulling information from that experience, from my heritage. And I feel like that Italian side was speaking to me through this experience in Italy. And in fact, we had gone on a southern tour, and they took us to Naples, and they took us to see this cave in a town called Cuma, where the Oracle of Cuma did her thing. And I was with one of my dearest friends, Talene, and we walked in there, and it's like, you got to go like not too far underground, but you go to where she sat and, chewed her laurel leaves or whatever it was. And we both had this strangest feeling down there. When I tell you the energy was palpable, I was like, whoa, I know this place. I knew it. I can't tell you how I knew it. I can't tell you any specific memories of it, but in my bones and in my blood and in my soul, I knew this place. And I'm like, whoa. So it was really, it created this whole, it set me on this whole, trip, this whole journey into finding out, what is this about and why am I so drawn to this? And it just kind of continued from there. And how, if you start to read, I also have a very, very strong connection with like Pompeii and Herculaneum in that area. So I don't know if it was past life stuff, but I suspect it was. But it's just so interesting how, I'm sure you've had those experiences where you've gone someplace and you're like, oh yeah, I know this place.
The only place I can say I've kind of had that experience is San Diego, where I might be moving back to, but it's never
really
as powerful. And I think there is something when you are, there's a solidness to a bloodline that connects to the earth that I always say this. And then I think, I just want to preface this saying Hitler was not right. Because I always think how Hitler was like, we got to keep people separate. I'm not saying Hitler was right.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have a strong connection to a land or a place.
Yes.
I'm almost a little jealous because I'm such a mutt, so I have not felt it. But you are not alone. And I think Native Americans, especially now, I think that's going to even grow. Like, I feel like we're going to watch them get so in touch and so powerful because there's a uprising or a healing or something going on. But and if I have any Native Americans that have something to say on that, email me. But I love that. Plus, already being in the art field, I will always say art and spirituality are connected. They just are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of art in my life. I've been an artist my whole life. It was either going to be that or my other interest was musical theater, but that wasn't.
That's the same kind of brain though. Music, art, and comedy all run the same.
It stems from the same source, right?
Yes.
And so I've done children's books. I worked in publishing for many, many years, and I enjoyed it very much, but it wasn't. I was just like, there's something more. There's something more. And then I got married, and I had my kids, and I was spending the last 20 years in that role, which has been phenomenal and very rewarding. And now I've had time to get back to, my art, which is, it's meditative, and I go into a zone. And when I tell you, but when I tell you, I truly believe that this deck was channeled. And the reason that I tell you that is because I don't remember doing it. Like, I remember doing it, but I don't. It just came through. And I had started, the idea had come to me about maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, before COVID, where I was like, I'd really like to do something like that, but I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. And then I was like, well, what do I do? So I just started making art and whatever. But I'm like, but how am I going to get this published? Because I didn't want to go to a publisher and have them, wait till
edit it or
royalty.
Yeah,
make it what they wanted it to be. And I just was like, oh, well, it'll come to me when the time is right. It'll come to me. And then when the pandemic occurred and we were all in lockdown, I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to have all this time. And you know what happened? I couldn't do it. I was so overwhelmed with the COVID energy and the pandemic fear and the what is going on in this world, and is this the end of everything, that I literally froze up and I was like, oh boy. So, okay. So I let that go for a bit. But then I came across this woman who teaches, her name's Alina Hennessy, who is a fabulous artist in her own right. And she was offering an online course, Create Your Own Oracle Deck. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, well, isn't that serendipitous? And I'm like, I just got to do it. So I did it. And she's very spiritual herself. And she had done all the research for the printing, gave all these ideas for marketing and all these ways of creating this for those who are interested. And what I love about her is that her approach is there's room for everybody. So if she had 100 students or 5,000 students, she wasn't keeping certain things secret. And she's just like, there's room for everybody. We all have our gift to lend to this world. And I just loved that. I thought it was so giving and so selfless. And it wasn't like a competition kind of thing. Like, it was just like, everybody's going to have the opportunity to give. And that's where I think we all need to be more.
I send me her name when you're done. I think I'm going to try and get her on the podcast. I think I remember this. I think I remember somebody else mentioned her on a podcast.
Oh, okay.
But and I think I looked at it for a second, and I think that was right before I was moving. So
you've had a crazy.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years. We're almost to the end. Oh. But I have to say, looking at the art on this, like each card is a masterpiece, because I look at it and I'm looking at the PDF right now and I'm like, I'm going to ask her if I can use that as a screensaver. And then I go the next week, I'm going to ask her if I can photo that. You know what I mean? Because I hate to take somebody's art like that without asking.
Yes, I understand. Yes, that's very good. Thank you. And you can do whatever kind of screensaver you want, of course.
Okay. The owl on the wisdom card, it looks like it's talking to me.
On the balance card, yes. Or on the wisdom card. Hold on,
the wisdom card. The wisdom card.
All right, let me.
The owl has the it looks like flowers or leaves in the ears.
Yeah,
it's so peaceful. And here's something. I'm going to take a break and then we're going to come right back. But
okay,
well, let's do that. We'll be right back, folks. This is fascinating.
Great.
Are you a seeker who craves a life of authenticity and freedom, but can't seem to get unstuck from experiences of duality? My name is Z, and I spent years stuck in victimhood, craving enlightenment, but trapped in a cycle of 2 steps forward and what felt like 100 steps back. I felt like I was drowning in fear and shame until I started learning about the nervous system. It turns out that while we are spiritual beings, we are only able to be here because of these physical bodies, and the nervous system is just trying to keep us alive by bringing us back to fight, flight, freeze responses. We can get stuck in these defense states, or we can gain resilience by developing a respectful and trusting relationship with our nervous system. If you're ready to learn more, check out my YouTube channel and join us for online coaching and courses by going to www.anexperiencer.com. That's anexperiencer.com. See you there.
All right, there we go. So, and I've said this many times, sorry folks, repeating myself, but since I started art, trying to draw or paint,
yes,
I have there's no bad art. Like, I love dark art, I love all art, and I'm not bragging, but today I drew a pretty good flower.
That's awesome.
I saw some guy show how to draw it using circles, and then you erase the circle. And I was like, I even sent it to my sister, who's very critical, but that's how.
Oh, Sister Sue.
Yes, I sent her the flower, and I don't think it came across as good on the screen as it was. But anyways, as a flower expert, no, just kidding. There is like spirit. You draw spirit in here, like smoke spirit, and you use like there's symbolism, and then some of them there's this picture with the couple in it. Like, how many mediums was each card? Like, because I would just think get paints and sit down, and it's like, no, she used everything.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I've always loved painting. And I've always loved collage. And so what I did was I started off, some of them are just more painting than others. For instance, there's a card called Beginnings, and that is pretty much painting. Even I put like real seeds that kind of like are in the moon part. And then other cards where, let me see, for instance, there's one called Heritage. And I love this card because those are my relatives. Those are my Italian relatives, actually. And in it is my grandfather and his mother shortly after they came to America.
Yes, that's the picture.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just looking.
Yes. And so what I did was, so that was from a photograph, but then I kind of implemented other pieces of digital collage into it to build the image. So it was really fun for me to do that. I didn't even know that was like something you could do till this year, which is really kind of funny. So it really helped blast open this whole other world of being able to express myself and to give sort of that ethereal look to some of these cards. And I really appreciated that. I really loved that I was able to do that. I think the layering between drawing and between scanning my art and just pulling different, sometimes it was pulling in different pieces of my art, like different pieces of art all together and merging them together. It just really came together. And that's what I really feel like I had no control over. I really feel like it came from somewhere else, and I feel like it was supposed to be. And even right down to the words, Karen, where my intention really was to help people whatever kind of level they're on. So that would mean to me, maybe you just want to look at art that is aesthetically pleasing to you. Maybe you want to develop your intuition and you don't know how, and you're kind of like, some of this stuff is like way too deep where they don't understand. It's not easily understood. So maybe something more simple, which is like if each card has 1 or 2 words on it, and it's meant to be a prompt, prompt for, like, so obviously a card that has my grandparents on it. Well, what would that mean to you? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's just, you sit with it, you meditate, you see what churns in you and see what comes up. Maybe it's pull a card for each morning and see what's my theme of the day or my theme of the week. But I love the idea of just being able to give someone an opportunity to look and to just meditate and to see. The more you look at it, maybe you discover more. And I had a woman who was a psychic medium look at one of the cards that was for the one of the chakra cards.
Is it the solar plexus? Because I have it right in front of me. That's my next question.
Oh, okay. It wasn't that one. It was the heart chakra one. And there's pink flowers, but she saw pigs. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I know that they're not pigs, but I see pigs. And then she went on to have this whole reading off of this card because she saw the pink flowers look like pigs to her. But that's just an example of how, to me, it was a flower. To her, it was a pig. But then it meant, it led into this whole other reading for her.
Wow. Okay. You know what you always, your cards are really make me think of is I really do have trouble with color, and I use the color wheel and I don't care. And I just realized I love the color of peacock feathers. I saw some and I was like, these are the colors I'm using all the time. So, and I wanted to buy some, but I don't want to buy real ones. I want fake ones so that no peacocks got hurt, but I can't find them.
I don't blame you.
But your color, I mean, obviously, this is what comes from years of doing art, is the colors and the mediums and the sketches and everything being so perfect. So I'm looking at the solar plexus one, and is the sun wearing a nose ring? It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
She is, but yes, she is. I think though that she actually is. So this was one of the digital aspects that came in. And you have to forgive me because I do think that she represents a goddess, and there is one that wears that nose ring, and it's out of my head at the moment. I'm sorry to say, but she's clearly not your typical solar plexus goddess.
No, but there was this woman on TikTok that did, she just had a really quick thing about what Mary Magdalene and Jesus would have looked like. And I loved that Mary Magdalene would have been covered with jewelry and hemp up to her fingers. She would have been like clinkety clink, like That's
like a gypsy?
Like a gypsy, because that was what it was in the time. And the henna, their fingers were painted with henna. And she had a nose ring. And I was like, you know, yeah. And
why not?
Right? Well, that's would have been the women of her time would have looked like that. And it was like, that's so interesting, because now
it's very interesting.
It's back and people kind of look down on it, or I guess they don't. I hope people don't. But you know what I mean? It's like I don't have the nose for it, but if I did.
Yeah, you know what? I don't either. And I actually ordered like a fake one. And I'm waiting for it to come because I just want to pretend.
Yeah.
But I'm far too old and far too my nose is definitely not a nose ring kind of nose, but I can play and make believe.
Although we should stop saying that, because I am 58. I think I'm 58, and I am getting more tattoos now than ever. And
are you really?
And they fit. They like I don't feel like I'm an old lady with tattoos. I feel like they're me. So they kind of, I mean, maybe everybody is saying how dumb I look with them, but I love them.
Well, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If you love them, bring it on, right?
Yes.
I think I think a beautiful thing happens when we get to our age, because I'm similar age to you. I think you stop giving a flying F about what other people think. And again, that really probably is why I was relaxed and open enough to just make these cards and be like, this is what I do and this is who I am. And I have a role to play here. And this is my service. I really believe that it's like, this is my gift and it's meant to serve. And
the enlightenment card is a peacock, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least I see a peacock.
Well, yes. Yeah. And you know what? It's a white peacock. So they're a little more rare, but yes, it is. And I think the symbolism behind a white peacock too is also like just eternity, like eternal.
The all-knowing. I had a shaman experience. I'm trying to get my shaman on the podcast, but she'll yell at me if I call her a shaman. She'll yell at you. She doesn't have any problem yelling at you. And she's so funny. And she doesn't use that word because it's a very important word. And, shamans are really important. And we kind of have the pop-up shaman now. And she, what the heck? How did I just make this connection to her? She puts me on the table, and every time we're done, her eyes are the size of quarters. Like she can't believe what happened. And because she's like, you just leave your body. Like I almost don't know how to get you back in so that she can do her work. And the first thing I laid down, and peacock feathers came up on all sides of the table.
Really?
And she said, "Oh, the all-knowing eye." And I looked it up, and most people don't have that interpretation of it. And to Muslims, it's I think it's the evil eye to Muslim. There's something about that. But I thought, then all of a sudden I kind of got obsessed, and I was like, oh, those are the colors I'm using all the time.
But so the peacock eye in the feather is what she was referring to.
That's the all-knowing eye. And then I got a little obsessed with it. And then here it is. There it is. This is how strong synchronicities are. So I was at an open mic last night, and I'm having so much trouble getting organized, and probably until my mom is settled in a place, it's very hard to write jokes or expand my brain.
Of course.
I took all my premises forever and printed them all out, and I was looking at them, and it was a song open mic. So the guy was singing, and I looked at my friend, and I look at an old premise, and I said to him, this is why you can never leave your notebook around if people don't know you're a comic and they start reading it. You look like a serial killer, like stabbings and stuff like that. And awful things. And I had written down, I just don't want to choke to death. And I said to him, because I was like, that seems so clumsy. Like, I said, it's okay if someone else chokes me to death, but I don't want to choke on something. And literally the guy on stage goes, this is an original song called I Don't Want to Choke to Death.
Get out of here.
No. And he sang the song, and the song he said was because he's high all the time. and he's afraid he's going to choke because he's high and he likes peanut butter. And he's like, I cannot choke to death on peanut butter. I'm so afraid that's going to. But that was like within seconds that happened. Yeah. And even the other comic was like, okay.
What? Although it might be worse if you choked on your own saliva. At least peanut butter is like a real thing. But sometimes I get a little cough and spell and I'm like, oh no, this can't be the way I'm going to go down on my own spit.
Well, I don't eat them anymore, but I can't believe there aren't more death by Tootsie Rolls. Tootsie Rolls were the biggest to make you choke. But there's something. I remember when I think there was a low blood pressure incident. You remember when George W. Bush choked on a pretzel? How like it was. See, it's even funny because it was George W. Of course, he choked on a pretzel. Of course, he passed out because of a pretzel. That's what we're thinking. So this
it's funny.
Wow. So is this? Will there be another deck?
Oh, great question. I believe there will. I don't know what it is yet. I'm giving myself a little breather, but I've got the wheels that are starting to churn a little bit. And I actually have a cousin back in Rhode Island who is a Hellenic astrologer, which I never knew there was such a thing. Did you? Hellenic? Have you ever heard of Hellenic
what
astrology?
Does that mean?
I think it's like you're really pulling in the energies of the gods and goddesses of ancient Greece. And so my cousin John is doing that. And so we've been talking and I'm like, I don't know, maybe there needs to be more exploration because it still relates to a lot of the things that I'm interested in. So I would love to do another deck that complements this one. And I learned so much just by doing this. And it was just really a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I'm getting a lot of very nice feedback. And people are really responding to it, which, that's what I like to hear is that I know I can do all this stuff, but does it work? That was more my thing. Like, I know you like the pictures, but does it work? Is it working for you? Are you connecting with it? Is it speaking to you, or is something else speaking through this art to you? So that's what I really love to hear.
Yes. And does it feedback on? And how many people will it speak to? I want to say it that way because I was looking at it and I was like, what if you're the next Pamela Coleman Smith and you don't know it? In like 300 years from now, two people are talking about your deck on a video telepathic podcast. That's what I was thinking.
Well, let's tap into that parallel universe and teleport forward in time and let's find out.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I'd love to have your cousin or person on. You've just filled me with guests today because
I've got another one for you too.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Jennifer Flynn, psychic medium?
No, but hold that thought and we will talk after.
Okay.
Yes. So let's do this. Because I did short time. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm breaking up my podcast. Podcast is going to be really different this year, folks. And either
you were saying that.
Yes, I'm either coming back with you'll know the difference. I'm either coming back with some things that I'm saying, or I'm going to put up a example of, I put out a 30-minute podcast twice a month on my Patreon. I might stick one of those up so you can hear what I do. If you want to join $5 a month, you get 2 of those, or you get all this tarot stuff. But this is just this is fabulous. My writing partners are waiting for me. It's beautiful. Everyone take a look. Judy Lanfredi. I was going to say Lanfranchi. Do you know the Lanfranchis at all?
No, but they were probably related.
Spell it for everyone. Text it to me exactly right so I have it in the show notes. And everybody tell them about where they can find the deck.
Sure. You can find my deck on my website, Judy, Judy, Lanfredi, LANFREDI.com. And I also have an Instagram page, which is judy.lanfredi.art. And you can see a lot of the images from the deck and find out more about that there as well. So those are the 2 best places to find me.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Judy. And I can't believe you said this was your first podcast because you were amazing.
It was. Oh, well, Karen, I mean, what I was going to do was open up with Paranormal Karen. Are you really that spooky? So my friends and I sing your jingle. It's really quite something.
Oh, that's great.
So thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to talk to you, and I appreciate you so much looking at my deck and sharing it with your listeners.
All right. Next time we have you, you do an hour.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, honey. Have a great day. Folks, we'll be right back with whatever I put next. Hey, everybody. How's that spiritual awakening going? I know. Don't worry. Help is here. HighlySpiritualPerson.com is a haven for spiritual misfits and empaths navigating spirituality and mental health. My friend Camille has a plethora of resources on her site to help you on your spiritual journey, even if you're just starting out. It includes individual and collective Reiki sessions, personalized guided meditations, sleep affirmation tracks, and so much more. Camille has so much to offer. She's going to be on my podcast in December. I can't wait to talk to her. Her blog posts and podcast episodes explore spirituality and are great for folks carving out their own path. She has written 2 easy-to-follow guidebooks, one on breathwork, and the newest book is called Manifestation is Easy, and it features 22 step-by-step manifestation techniques, as well as tips and advice on how to overcome the most common blocks and start changing your reality. Go to highlyspiritualperson.com. I promise you, you will get lost in how much information is in there. It's one of my favorite rabbit holes. Hey, everybody, it's me. This is a Patreon podcast, which I am also going to later attach to a regular podcast for anybody who wants to know what goes on in the Patreon. And just a little advertisement for them. For $5, you get 2 30-minute episodes like this one I'm doing. And if you want to learn tarot or you want to just practice your tarot on other strangers, then you want to join the Patreon. And you can join it for free, too. So if you join it for free, sometimes you'll get an alert on stuff that I leave for everybody. So I am taping this in February in upstate New York, where it is 57 degrees. And that never happens. And I humbly tell people that I did that. I came from LA and I did that. So the windows were open and I'm airing out my yucky haunted place, and there's a fly there's a fly now. See how interesting? You see why you want to sign up for the Patreon? Because you find out how many flies are in my apartment. So how's your witch wound, folks? I have the greatest healer here, and she told me, I never put these two together, witch wound and perfectionism. Yeah, how about it? Did everybody's head just explode? Did you hear the glass break? Witch wound and perfectionism. If I don't do this right, I will be persecuted. That set off alarm bells in my head like nothing. So we have to remember we're not going to be persecuted, or hopefully we won't, or we can persecute back. That's what I say. I think we need to sell t-shirts that say, "How is your witch wound?" So that was the first thing about today that I was thinking about. That's what this Patreon is. It's just the things I'm looking up, the things I'm thinking about. I'm going to tell you about a TikTok account that you should be following. And I reached out to her. Hopefully she will be on the podcast, but I haven't heard back from her yet. It's Ayanda Stood. I'm going to spell this for you. AYANDASTOOD. Yanda Stood. She put out the best little 1-minute clip that I grabbed onto, and I put it in my stories on Instagram, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but she was talking about how if you're feeling lost or you don't know who you are, that is actually when you are more in touch with the universe. She's so smart. Please follow her. Tell her she should be on my podcast. She has a podcast too. I'm going to start listening to it. When you are lost, you are acknowledging the unknown. I'm going to hack this up. She says it way better than I can. I completely agree with this. She was saying how in Western life, we are all programmed to believe we have to know where we're going. We have to know who we are. We have to know everything. It has to be planned. It has to be controlled, and it has to happen. When really there is nothing free flow about that. So when I am leaving Utica, there's a little countdown going on, or I may have already made my announcement. I'm not sure where this is landing because I'm in the unknown, which means I'm really in alignment with the universe. So I'm making up the list that needs to be done. New car, promo, get this size down because I'm going to try and live on the road for a little bit. Little out, little back. Come back, see my mom in Utica. And with that, I don't know. I keep thinking I should go through Massachusetts and say hello to that person, or drop by this way, or go down south and say hello to that person. But I don't know. And there is somewhat of a thrill about that. Now, I may get out there and decide I'm not that feral and I'm more controlling and I can't do that. But the idea right now that I'm just going city to city in my car, staying in Hampton Inns or wherever I'm staying is really thrilling. It's thrilling, and not knowing where I'm going. I'm going to try and make a map out of the haunted places and make haunted videos, because the idea is to have a little Instagram series or YouTube where it's like, you look where I'm going, where am I staying? Am I sleeping in my car? Am I in a Hilton? Who knows? But she is correct. I feel so much better that there is an open end to what I am going to be doing. I really feel like we're all going through this state of where are we trapped? I had done a podcast a little bit ago talking about, everybody responded to it on the Patreon, about, are we in Groundhog's Day? Is it the same thing over and over and over again? And now I feel like, are we trapped? Just a little information. We finally got my mom accepted to where she is supposed to be, which will be taking care of her. And then I'm pretty much free. I'm not going to just abandon her. So I'll be back and forth, but the 24-hour care doesn't have to be anymore. And I'm making the list, checking it twice, putting it together, but not knowing where I'm going yet. Try it. Try to lean into the not knowing. I know that I can't trap myself like this again, ever. I don't even know what situation would come up. I've decided no husbands, no, I don't even know. I'm a little sketchy on a dog because I can't be trapped in something. But that's think about it. The not knowing, the change that makes us so afraid. Lean into it. That is when you're in the flow. That is when you're going with the universe. At least that's what I'm saying today. We'll see the day I get in the car how that feels. My friend Ron in Minnesota, hi Ron, sent me an article that is putting, a new name on some old stuff that I love. I love that this has sort of come into a BuzzFeed article, or that someone wrote about it. And it's called The Third Man. It's people who, I believe, they are mistaking the third man for a guide, but it's very interesting that this is what this would be called right now. The third man is simply a voice that comes in and stops you from hitting a car or going the wrong way, or it's that thing that stops you. And now my house that I'm in is a little haunted. I was very happy to be in this house that wasn't haunted, but I'm here, so stuff is going down. That's all I'm saying. Last night I had a light that flashed a couple of times, and so I took the bulb out and I told whatever was doing it to stop. Of course, this could all be horrific electrical problems, and I could be dying in a fire, but at least I had words with the fire or the electricity before it burnt me. So that was last night, a couple of flashes of a light that was off. Now, a couple of nights earlier, I did hear a man's voice, and I can't remember what it said. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't anything. It was that right before you fall asleep where you hear, sometimes I know I had a friend, she was very telepathic, and she would hear chatter or almost like she was listening to a convention hall. And I wonder, because we're getting so paranormal, folks, if it was a spirit or if we are tapping into another level right now where it really is that clear. It is a man's voice. I can't remember what he was telling me. And I know that much like with the light on, I said, nope. It's so funny that I go out ghost hunting and I look for these things and I listen to these stories all day and I help people that have them. And then the minute it's in my bedroom, I'm like, nope. So I think these things have to be done with boundaries. That's what I'm trying to say. Too bad I didn't have boundaries with my family. I think I have better boundaries with the supernatural than I do with my family. But they're calling this the third man syndrome. I love that. I bet a lot of you have had third man stories where somebody came in and stopped you from pulling out or stuff like that. We all just think it's guides, or maybe, I don't know, Western so programmed that a man's going to come in and save you, or that it's Jesus or something. Maybe that's why we think it's a male's voice. But you never know. Maybe there is a third man. Maybe he's trying to turn my lights on. I should stay up later or something. I don't know why he would do that. Let's talk about the apocalypse, or whatever is coming. Because something is coming and we all know it and we all feel it. Maybe that's why we do feel trapped, because we know something is around the corner and we can't quite put our finger on it. So I am waiting till I do my taxes to ask my accountant about writing off all kinds of doomsday stuff. I'm like, well, if you're going to live out of your car for a little while, you might need a generator. I bet that's a ghost hunting tax write-off. So that's what I'm looking at. How are you guys doing with your supplies or whatever you're keeping? I will say this. I found a company, or my friend sent me to a company called Go Leaf that makes vegan dehydrated meals, which I ordered immediately when I saw how clean the ingredients were. And then I looked at the subscription and I thought, they're only good like 6 months. So they're not as good as the ones that are like for 40 years, but I'm not worried about 40 years. I am only worried about 6 months. Something better fix itself in 6 months, or it's full zombie apocalypse, Walking Dead. And I really just think I'm going to do well in that. I've watched The Walking Dead. I don't have any problem killing zombies or being suspicious of other people. I'm going to do well in the zombie apocalypse. I will take over a CVS and a Michael's, and I will just do crafts until someone comes to save me. Till Michael comes. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay at Michael's until Michael actually comes and asks me to leave. So I was thinking how slowly I'm moving into the apocalypse or the doomsday prepper stereotype without even knowing it. Now there's hundreds of, or I would say 100, and then a couple more boxes of freeze-dried vegan meals that are coming my way. So people, don't let anyone tell you it's hard to be vegan. It's not. We've already made it to the doomsday preppers. So what more do you want? You can take them camping, and I am actually going to take them on the road with me in hotels, because I'm so sick of being next to a convenience store and just having like potato chips. So working on finding a way to write off the car and the generator, got the meals, got the Berkey, although I want to find a smaller water system. So how are you guys doing? Leave a message on my Patreon or on my Instagram. What doomsday prepper stuff are you keeping around? I watch some of these CIA guys, and I'm not that crazy. I'm crazy. I think like we perceive crazy as the person that's ready for like 2 years. But I think I'm less crazy because I'm going to be ready for like 3 weeks. That's what I got. I think I got 3 weeks. That'll work. So I'm not that doomsday. Apparently I have a giving up at 3 weeks. So I'm going to have about 3 weeks worth of stuff. I already have a solar in my car, is a solar charger for the phone. So how long are you guys ready for? Or leave me a note on what you're putting together. I have been watching these CIA guys, and there's two very interesting things that one of them said. First of all, he said, have small bills around. This is a great tip. In the apocalypse, no one's making change. If you have $100, whatever you are buying is going to be $100. That's actually how I sell my bumper stickers after the show. I say, it's whatever you got. You got $1, it's $1. You got $100, it's $100 because I don't make change. Have small bills on hand, not big bills, and have them spread out in other areas of your home, or one in your car, some in your pocket, however you do that. Also, this is very interesting, and I've been trying to find an Aikido class, and there isn't one near me. But even if you have guns, you're going to run out of bullets, or you're going to be caught off guard. This guy was saying, know how to fight with anything, or know how to fight with a stick, which is Aikido. Aikido, there's ways to do that with a stick. That was in The Walking Dead. That's what Morgan did. I want to be like Morgan and also Carol. I'm a lot like Carol. People used to mistake me for Carol, which is really insulting to her. But people would sometimes come up after my comedy show and go, we really enjoy you in The Walking Dead. And I hope they meant that I was Carol and not a zombie. But either way. So my friend that is a police officer who I'm going to learn to shoot a gun with, I have taken gun courses, but I feel a little more like he would get me ready. He was saying how he and his wife play a game called How Do You Use This as a Weapon? And they go through the house and they find things like I could hit somebody with a microphone right now. I have a big microphone and I have the little TikTok type microphone. Hit him with a big microphone. Hard, right? I got a shoe. What weapon do you have around you right now? Do you have any children? I think hurling children at people would surprise them. It would buy you a moment of time. So there's some interesting tips for that. I do have trouble seeing that moment. Like, I think it could happen. There was already, I think, in Oregon, they had the power out. A couple people had power out for like 6 days. That is a lot. That's a lot. I live in Utica. We have the power out all the time when the wind blows, but that's not 6 days. Yeah. I bet if you live in Utica, you can write off a generator anyways. So what am I forgetting? We got our weapons. We got our food. We got our generator. That's a good start, isn't it? And then someone's going to steal my car. I'm actually going to get a new car, and I'm going to have something custom painted on it. Because I asked my police officer friend, I said, if I'm going to have my life in my car, does a custom painted something on the side keep it from getting stolen? Because you know those guys that drive around and the car is just one huge ad for something painted all over the car and the things on top? I always think no one's stealing that car, but I'm like, I'm going to get a new car and have someone paint on it. So I don't know what to put on it. I don't want to put my website on it because that's kind of weird. And now if you're going to see the videos, you're going to know everything I own is in that car. You're going to want it more. But I was thinking like a peacock feather or something, maybe paint one door a different color. And my friend that was the police officer said, this is a great recovery device. It may not keep it from getting stolen, but it could get it recovered very quickly. So I got to figure out, this is the hard figuring out tattoos or what to custom paint on a new car. So maybe you'll be in the apocalypse and you'll see someone fly by in a Honda HR-V with peacock feathers. That's me. Just yell. We can have vegan freeze-dried meals together. For some of you that are listening on the regular podcast, this is exactly how it is. It's a little messy like this. It's a little bit of everything. And it's really my ADHD mind just spewing things at you. If you are interested in another hour of this a week, well, it's $5. I also don't want to forget, weirdly enough, I own a sword. I own a very large sword, and it even makes that sound when it pulls out of its thing. It goes, zip. And I think that's all we're looking to do, is to buy some time when someone is coming at us. So they go, what is that? Is that a sword? Do you have a unicorn horn on your head? What's happening? That's all we're trying to do, is buy some time and confuse them a little before we have a chance to smack them down. So I have the sword. I actually have what looks like a tarot card in my house. I have a sword next to a wand, next to a cup, all the things, and a pentacle, because I'm trying to do a picture where I am a tarot card, and everything is right here. But the sword, that is great. It's really great. Everyone go get a sword or a toy sword. Sorry about the car starting. I got mine in Hollywood because it was a prop. But I'm telling you, you could really do some damage with that. And then if the police come, say you were taking tarot card pictures, they don't know. It's not their business why you have a sword. So now that I have myself all excited about the end of the world, which, by the way, it's early morning now, I tape these in pieces as for what I'm thinking about. So I have my morning voice. It's not bad. So now that I got all excited about the end of the world, here's what I'm thinking. The question really is, what makes us happy? And you have to dig deep. I got up this morning and I was thinking about how I wake up here, and I don't think this is just Utica. I'm going to blame it on Utica, and then I'm going to dig deep. And I'm like, okay, we got to do it again. So what about today would make me feel better or go for? Because I feel like, especially even older people, even we are all living for the next thing, right? If someone hates their job, they're living to retire, and then retirement comes and they're like, what do I do? So I've been living for this space to get out of Utica, which makes me feel like I'm trapped. So I'm looking for a feeling of freedom. But what is that? So I want people in Patreon, and if you're on the regular podcast, on the Instagram, see if you can answer this question about what is the place you want to get to or feel, as in not looking forward to something. I think looking forward to something is taking you out of the moment. Like, I do enjoy painting and watching like a good something on Netflix or True Detectives or something, but that is about distraction. So what is the feeling, the thing that puts you in the now that you think, I could sit here forever? I know I'm actually thinking of going up to Lake George before I take off out of here, just because it's supposed to be such a spiritual place, and just sitting. And I try to sit in bed in the morning and think, what is that you think you're going to? You think you're going to drive around the country and stop by a mountain and sit there and feel ultimate peace? You can feel that now. Now, you don't take physical stuff off we're going to keep this family oriented, but not like, if you want to say it's sex, then think, is it connection? Is it when I'm sitting with my significant other holding hands? Is it when I'm creating something? What is that one feeling that brings you peace? Because I'm living so much for the next thing. I know when I've accomplished something, it feels great. When I go, oh, okay, all my podcasts are up, or I've done my work, that feels great. But is there a moment where you're really in the moment and you just feel like, this is it? This is what we worked for. This is why we have the house, or this is why we have the car. And can you have that feeling anywhere? Because one of my worst feelings, I'm saying this thinking, what are you creating? What is the matrix asking you, or not asking you? What are you telling the matrix you want to create? What do you want to manifest? And since it's this weird manifestation of just get out, that's not working. I think about the things that cause me anxiety. And when I was going through this list of what feels great, one of the feelings was getting home after a long trip. All right. Show went great. Got on the plane, got my car, walked into my house. That is a feeling that I'm driven for. But once I walk into my house, it's all over. And then I go, oh, yeah, and I'm in Utica, and I don't like Utica. So I'm wondering, like, if they were like, your plane's not going today, one of my biggest triggers, if I didn't have anywhere to go, would I be like, okay, if I wasn't looking for that feeling of going home, if I don't have a home, I'm not going to be looking for that feeling. Okay. What? I know I probably went off the deep end here for a lot of you, but what is that feeling? Is it a feeling of peace? For me, sometimes it really is that first cup of coffee in the morning and just being quiet before all the other thoughts rush in of what I have to do, what I have to finish, what I have to be. But I can't quite figure out what is that quiet or maybe not quiet place where you are like, that's it. This is what we worked for, right? Because when you cut it down, I shouldn't be so excited to leave Utica because I can have those feelings here if I really figure out what they are. This whole figuring out year is just not working for me. This whole life transition. Anybody else over it? Like, I love that guy on TikTok where he's just like, I'm not getting better. I'm not working on myself. This is it. There's something beautiful about that. Like, maybe this is it. Let's stop fixing. Maybe that's the feeling I want. Just to not stop fixing or reaching and just being. Anybody else? This is what, this is why I can't get married. This is the type of stuff I wake up with. And if you're not a morning person, this is a lot. This is a lot to be listening to at 7 a.m. Or maybe some of you are already. So that's the podcast for today. What is it? Is it connection? Is it not being anxious? Is it having everything done? Because stuff is never going to be done. It's never all going to be, that to-do list is never going away. Ever. Well, unless you go into a nursing home. Then you got other problems though. So what is that peaceful? This is what I wanted. That I cannot figure out. That is the one where I think I'm driving out of Utica and finding, and it's not. I mean, I'm leaving Utica. I'm not making this nice, like, all of a sudden, I found peace in Utica. Nope, I'll find it somewhere else, people. But what is it? Is it connection with others? Is it creativity? Is it all those things? I don't know. I just want to stop thinking about what's next or the next day or when I'm out of here or when I'm doing this. When does it all lead to? I know there's like a difference when you see in show business, because it's me, there's people that are stand-ups and there's people that want to be on stage. And the stand-up loves the craft and the art. And the other person likes the attention. Nothing wrong with that. And if you're funny, you're funny. But the same thing with acting. I think some people like it when it's done, or they, like when you watch a movie, you don't understand how different it is to make that movie and how much it takes you out of, it's a different thing. It's like the love of acting or wanting to make a movie. So I want to be in the life, not planning the life. There you go. 7 a.m. Roll that around. That's where my day is starting. All right, everybody. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Like I said, this one's going out on the Patreon and on the big podcast. So maybe you join and you get up with me with these tortured thoughts early in the morning. Have a great day, everybody.
Paranormal Karen, she's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen, she's an angel without wings. Comedian, ghost hunter, conscious exploring. She's a funny gal and a real woo pal. She's Paranormal Karen.